Right, here we go. Happy Monday, April the 22nd. Taking on another week. See what today brings us. There's no news today. Could be a slower day. We shall see. Let's take a look around the block here. Starting with gold. I took one losing trade today in gold, which I anticipated was going to be a losing trade, but I took it anyway because we created the open range. We came back to the midline. I took the break of this candle right here, which immediately failed, basically. Instead, it turned into a nice kind of wrap of the midline and a huge push down. The thing that should have been the red flag in this trade is that this box right here is a 15-minute fair value gap. So if you look at the 15-minute chart, let's change it to 15. Right there. This candle wicked up into this and immediately pulled back. So that should have been kind of a warning. But anyway, so a small loss there. That's fine. And then it just kind of took off without me. So is what it is. We'll see what see how price unfolds. Actually, I'm going to put that back. Just want to watch how this fair value gap is treated. Couple things I'm thinking here. One is that we've had a huge drop in gold overnight, right? So kind of zoom out here. Overnight opens way up here. I mean, we're 500 some odd. I don't even know. 530 away from it. So it's way up there. Just had kind of this trickle down here. We had this drop, a nice retest. Now we're dropping again. So there's a lot of momentum down. So kind of keep an eye out in case some kind of a reversal shows up, but we'll see. We'll see if the higher time frames give some kind of a reversal signal, then maybe we'll consider that. Otherwise, we might just be watching gold today. The other thing that could happen if we do come up here, retest the bottom, we might take a short off of that. We'll have to wait and see. Looks like oil's just opened, beginning to form its range. Overnight open's not so far away in oil. Only 50. So something to keep an eye on there. We pull back up to that. Potential rejection there. Again, in oil, we've had oil's, I guess, a little bit of a different story here. Overnight, we had an initial push up, big drop down, and then a huge pullback. Looking at the higher time frames, we're kind of, there's a 15-minute fair value gap created over here, right? So we kind of dipped into that, and we're now pulling away from that. So if I had to guess, it'll make its way back up to the overnight open. We'll see what it does there. Then in NQ's just been going sideways. Let's see. Kind of a little bit of a range in Asia, 77. That's pretty nice little range in Asia. Similar range, it looks like, in London. Just stepped up a little bit. So at 8:30 here, the open, we'll see what it gives us. That's pretty much it. So nothing immediately available, I don't think. It's going to be just a watch and wait kind of a game for a little bit. We already hit the 100% on the short side for gold. If we'd have taken a chance on the short off of that candle, that would have been almost 100 ticks from that point down to that 100% line. That was a nice move. See what happens here. See if are we going to invert this gap back up. We had inside bar on the 5-minute. We have we're 5 minutes into this 15-minute candle. Which this is the low of the new 15-minute candle right here. If it pulls back up to the bottom of this range, that would be a 15-minute. There's a 15-minute fair value gap right there. So one good thing is there's a nice range in gold. So if something nice sets up, it could turn out to be a pretty good trade. Just have to, this stops could be a little tricky. Could have some wide stops. So I'll have to watch the risk there. NQ did have a gap up overnight. So see if it wants to refill that gap this morning or today sometime. It's way down here. Let's see. See that gap there. For the rest of the week, Tuesday PMI and home sales tomorrow. And then Wednesday, durable goods orders. And of course, the oil inventory report. Thursday is GDP, jobless claims, lots of news on Thursday. And then personal income and outlays on Friday. So today's the only no news day, which is good for the week. Seems like the GDP number is probably a pretty big number. And that's on Thursday. There's a lot of news on Thursday. We'll have to see. It might be a quiet day today. Wonder if a lot of people will take today off since there's no news. There's nothing really going on. And there's much more interesting news events the rest of the week. Probably means today will be slow. So I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be back in a second. Looks like we're going to get a big opening range in oil. I think today needs to be a very cautious day. The objective on a day like today is just don't lose all your money on a day like today. Of course, the best way to not lose your money is just to not trade, right? But if the trade setups show up, then we will take them. All right, this 1 minute gap is inverting. We're going to pull back up to that bottom of the range. All right, there it goes. That was a strong push, though. And it really kind of accelerated up there too, so it's either exhausting or it's picking up steam, one of the two. This is a fair value gap on the 15-minute chart. Let's drop that in so we can look at it. There it is. So this could be considered an entry. My only problem is that it's a 30 tick stop, and that's just too big for me right now. Can't take the risk. Especially since the 15-minute chart showed a big up close candle. So it's kind of uncertain. Getting mixed signals on the 5-minute chart, so we'll just wait. Give this one a minute. Or as many minutes as it needs. Let's see, oil. All right, we got the open range in oil. Pretty decent open range. Created a singular fair value gap, which is holding right there. Gonna be watching for inside bars on the 5-minute chart. Those worked out really well last week, so we'll keep an eye out for those. Range on oil ended up being 60 ticks, big, which is a big range for oil. Definitely on the high side. $13 minutes till NQ opens. All right, so gold gave us an inside bar on the 5-minute chart with that last close. There's an inside bar closing on its low. Been consolidating here for the last couple minutes. Oil's holding the bottom of the range. Sat there for a couple minutes. It's coming back up a little bit. If it were to pull back up and respect that midline, that's something I would be interested in. All right, gold's dropped one tick below the low of that 5-minute inside bar. Again, my only problem with these is the stop would be required to be way up here, which is just too far for me. Don't think I can stomach 48 ticks of risk. Best case scenario would, in that situation, would be that it just kind of drops, which it could. But gold can be choppy, so I'm not going to bank on that happening. NQ's holding the London highs while we get ready for the open here in a few minutes. Oil pulling back to the midline, maybe. Oil is working on an inside bar on the 5-minute chart. Seems like gold and oil are just sitting around waiting for something. Again, there's no news today, so nothing Nothing on the horizon to wake stuff up that I'm aware of. All right, so we got an inside bar on the 5-minute chart in oil. 17 tick bar. It's a little bit of a wicky one. So if it breaks going long, the stop would be 20 ticks. If it were to break short, the stop would be longer. Be 28, I think. Okay, it broke long right there. Not sure I trust it, but might work out. They've been working out pretty good. So the entry would have been 807. 20 tick target. So the target would be 81.27, which is up here, right there. Which would require that it pushes through this fair value gap, it pushes through the gold line, it pushes through the midpoint. Let's see what it does. I'm more interested in taking a short off that gold line. So I'm going to bet against that 5-minute inside bar. See what happens here. I don't know. It's not looking so good for me. It's looking better for the inside bar. We do have the overnight open up here. It's a little ways away. It's 81 ticks, I think, or so from where we're at. So my stop is at 18, 81.18. Which gives me, I think, 15. 15 ticks is my risk there. So I'm giving it basically 2 ticks above here. So what I don't like is that we retested this little fair value gap here. Don't like that much. But we're still being supported by this larger gap here. So we'll see. I think we're going to find out here shortly. Where's the midpoint of this? Right there. It's interesting. Huh. Well, back to break even. Oh, it's 8:30. All right, that's why. Got a big wick here. Interesting. All right, back to oil. I need a close below this, otherwise I might just bail here and wait for more information. Hmm. This looks very 50-50. Let's see. We might still get lucky. Let's go ahead and draw some extensions just to be optimistic here. See what we get. Okay. All right, so we're back down to that bottom. We just tapped it again. Tapped it here, touched it again here. So we can fall through. I'm going to move my stop to break even in case this rips back on me. I don't want to lose any money on this trade. Feel like we already got a little lucky that we didn't get stopped out in that one. But I had my stop in a place that made sense, even though it was a little longer of a stop than I really like. It made sense and it held, so that's good. NQ's just going sideways. All right, let's see what we got. We got a little fair value gap here. There's obviously one here, but this is the higher one, so it's possible we come up and test that out. This candle holds below the, which it didn't. I was gonna say if it holds below that low point there, that would be a good sign. I mean, 70 is this low over here. Where does that? That's not even to the 50% line here. There we go. So we can get a little push down there. All right, I do not like how we've held here for 4 candles. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we really need to close below here. Otherwise, I may just take whatever I got. All right, well, there's a close below. And an inside bar. On the 1 minute. 5 minute is still forming. 15 minute is halfway done. And it's obviously a pretty bearish candle. I get really conflicted in these. My gut tells me just to take it. But I also know that if I get out and then it drops from here, I would be very unhappy. So in that case, what do we have here? I mean, my stop is better than break even, so I'm not going to lose money on the thing. All right, there's a full close underneath. Let's see if we can get, even if we get a one strong candle push down, that would be fantastic. It's just being so hesitant here. All right, there we go. So I'm out. That was a potential reversal on the 5 minute, so we'll see where it goes from here. But went through a lot of chop to get there. So I took 20 ticks. So that's not a bad trade, right? I think we got kind of lucky on that one. Not a lot of momentum. If We come back up here and retest. There could be an opportunity for another short. We'll have to see. So we made back what we lost in this first trade here, plus a little bit. So that's good. We're positive so far for the day. Oh, gold, what are you doing? Well, you're still bearish. So we did actually, this would have worked, right? So we came up, we retested the bottom of the range. And we got another push back down. So that did work out fine. I mean, geesh, would have worked out. I mean, it went. I don't know where a reasonable exit would have been, but went for 100 ticks from that point. So, I mean, that's the one thing, right? You're risking 30, but that just means the market is moving more, which means that the upside is greater. So then it looks like I got out at a good spot here. I would have been stopped out for break even otherwise. So I did get lucky. Ooh. We'll chalk that one up to luck. I mean, not sure there's going to be anything in gold for me today. You get a reversal 5-minute setup. If for some reason the 15-minute were to confirm, then I would be watching the 1 minute for something to go long. But we are very much on a downward trend, so that's probably a lower probability setup. I mean, this is a little bizarre. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 candles. Well, let's say 7 because the 8th one was kind of the one that pushed back up in oil. We had 7 candles that sat essentially on the bottom of this range before we pushed back up. So I said 4 is kind of my max, right? Once we get 4, that's not something I'm interested in really waiting around for. But then we got a close below, which is why I held out a little bit longer and did get lucky. Now we're pulling back to the midline. So the inside bar setup in oil would have failed. You would have got ticked in long, stopped out short, and then now we're going back up with gusto. 15-minute is also looking long. This is the 105 SMA, mimicking the 21 SMA off the 5-minute chart, which usually provides some pretty good resistance. We've tapped that. We're holding this fair value gap. So I think we've got some stuff to push through if we're going to continue back long. So we'll see what it does here. NQ's got nothing going for it. I mean, it's about as ugly as it gets. 44-point range, so a pretty small range. And we've got single candles basically spanning that range. So that's just ugly. There's nothing to trade in NQ right now, in my humble opinion. All right, oil pushed through that red line with no hesitation. Broke above our fair value gap. We were going to reach up to that magic place, the overnight open. It would not surprise me in the least. We're only 50 ticks away from it right now. If we were to get a nice little pullback to this midline, that would perhaps tempt me to take a long position. All right, this is interesting in gold. So we created a low here. We created higher lows. Then it looks like we came back for one more push below this level here. And now we're returning back up. So the fact that we inverted this leads me to believe that we may be changing direction in gold. I think we would need to wait for that to be confirmed by a higher high on the 5-minute chart. So that higher high would need to be created above 23.55, about here. This was kind of the last high, the last lower high. So this was a high on the 5-minute. This was a lower high. So we kind of need a higher high to be formed in this area, I think. And then that would probably confirm a change in direction. But this inverted gap here, I think, is an early indication of that potential. See how it holds up. All right, NQ is pushing above the London high, the open range. It's decided it wants to go up for a little while. I don't trust it, though. Do not trust it. And I don't trust it partially because I just don't trust NQ anyway. I don't trust a single impulsive move. Too much trickery going on over here. This line up here is a 15-minute high from Friday. It was created in a pullback on the way down on Friday. So see what happens when we get to that level. Oil wasted no time in breaking out the top of the range. Didn't even stop to give us an entry. Just blew right through that open range. Out the other side. Giving us this one little single candle pullback here. All right, NQ, you may tempt me. Well, there's NQ with its trickery. All right, see if it holds that. Nope. That's why I don't trust NQ. Well, I'm a little curious because we didn't take this high. I really would think that we would take that high. The only thing about this is I took the break of this candle. The better entry, I guess the ideal entry would have been actually probably the top of this fair value gap with a stop below the fair value gap or a close below the fair value gap, which would have been a similar risk to what I took. So I want to see if that plays out. This looks to me like it wants to pull back to continue up, but we'll have to see. We're definitely not coming down with any kind of momentum here. It's very slow and choppy down. Well, there's some downward momentum. All right, this was definitely an inverse fair value gap here. Strong, strong, strong push down. It's on trend with the higher time frame. All right. See if it'll get a little back, give a little back here. Automatically moved my stop loss up, and I don't want that. I want to ride this one out. So let's kill that. Oh, it already did. I'm giving this one room because I want to see if we close above. If we close above here, we'll kill it. It looks like we're probably going to. Huh? Where's my... There it is. Trying to find my clock here. All right, we'll close it there. The red line held. The red line held. I'm gonna get rid of that. That's not really a valid fair value gap inversion because we didn't take out any kind of a low over here. Only that's strong enough to go long, of course. And now it's falling back down. Just being tricky. All right, where was my original entry here? Well, right there. So it would have been back to break even, actually. Well, oil's just chilling up here. Oh, not going anywhere. All right, what ended up happening in gold? Did we get a higher? No, we got another lower high in gold on the 5 minute, so still coming down for the time being. Just kind of a sideways day. See, I still think NQ's coming down. Just don't know when it's going to happen. Of course, I may not go anywhere today. It may just be sideways most of the day. Oh, there it goes. All right, we're going to take, this is a risky trade. Basically buying this pullback because I think it's coming down. Of course, I may hit my loss limit for the day before it does, but I'm willing to risk that because I just think we're coming down. And I could be completely wrong, but given the sideways price action today, I think pretty much everything's lower probability. Oh man, look at it. Oil. Hesitate, hesitate, hesitate. Push off. In fact, I'm going to move my stop up here if I have a little bit of room. In fact, I may just let this one kind of run. If it decides to go in that direction, if it doesn't, then we'll be done for the day and it'll be easy. Otherwise, I actually think we come back down to below here if we do come down. Could potentially come down to here, but it's quite a ways away. Would that be 169? Well, we'll see what happens here. If I hadn't have bailed out of my original one, we'd be up very, very nicely right now. All right, well, I'm going to let this one run. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be back in a second. So I see it's testing my conviction. Hmm. It's hard to evaluate this ridiculously choppy market. Essentially, my conviction in this trade is coming from the 15-minute chart. So we'll see. It's kind of interesting. So this is the London midline. During the open range here, we sat here a couple of times, pushed up, and now we're sitting down here again. I wouldn't be surprised to see this fell, which is why I'm gonna hold here. Why not? But come on. We're just wicking around all over the place. Close below. Close below. You can do it. Just stay there. You don't need to come back. You can stay there. It's okay. There we go. Now the real question is, do I really want to sit around and wait for it to actually fall? See if it falls. Who knows if it will or not. no. Yeah, I've waited this long. I might as well just hang out, right? Oh, even though there's no momentum in this market at all. So what did we take out? We just took out this low here. Looked way back up. I mean, we should come at least down to here, I would think. Even if we don't fell all the way down. But who knows? There we go. All right, we'll take that 40 points. Watch it just dump from here finally, but that's okay. If it does, I'm not going to feel bad. I went from being down a lot to being back up positive, so yeah. Let's see, oil finally hit the overnight open. Look at it, it's going to keep going now. London lows right there. All right, I'm going to put my... So this is kind of interesting because it's like a psychological thing, which I'm not really very good at the psychological game, but in this case, it worked out okay. And honestly, it's because I was completely willing to hit my daily loss limit in order to see this play out. I was actually fine with it. I was expecting it to happen. And that's what allowed me to sit through all this. And it ended up working out. So I read this as a break, creation of a fair value gap, basically a retest of the fair value gap, retest of the 1 minute gold line long, which I've taken so many 1 minute gold line trades in NQ that fail that I don't know why I take them. I just don't read them well. Whatever. But so this failed. So now we're down 16 points ish, ballpark. Okay. Then I say, well, now we inverted it, which actually this inversion wasn't too bad. I think the problem with this inversion is that, and this is where I read this one wrong. The first target, or where you would move your stop to break even, would be this candle here. Okay. So after this push down, I should have stopped out at break even if I was taking this as an inversion. I didn't. And I basically stopped out after we re-inverted a fair value gap going long, which really wasn't a valid inversion because the push down didn't take liquidity, right? We didn't take out a low when we created this. And honestly, if I'd have just held to this original gap, then I would have been in the trade I was just in, but at a better spot and not having lost another 17 points. So we're down like 30 points. And then we said, well, okay, so we're still going short. We have the 15-minute chart confirming a short setup. Sort of. As confirmed as it can be, given the choppy market. So I went ahead and we got in short again, sat through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, basically 6 minutes of nonsense before it finally pushed down. And now, of course, I sit through all this, I get out. Still, I'm happy with my entry or my exit. Well, I should say I'm not unhappy with it. Looks like we only got 38 points. So basically one back what I lost plus a little bit. And we're still falling. And keep in mind, my original target was actually this line down here. But I figured we'd get at least to this line. And of course, not willing to sit through the trade. Guess I didn't believe in it that much. But would have been an extra 40 points if it gets there. Probably will, because we broke through the overnight open and still dropping. And there it is. Interesting. Interesting. So the other part of this is the timing. We have the 850 macro here, which was this fair value gap. Essentially, we're playing the whole time. We just our bias was wrong originally, and then we corrected that bias, and it paid off. So kind of ugly trading really in NQ, but you know, I think the good thing is that we're able to say, okay, if you're able to kind of flip your bias pretty quickly, then you can come out okay. Now you have to change that bias based on good information. You can't just say, oh well, it fell short, so let's go long, or it fell long, so let's go short. You can't really do that. But if you have a reason to see it one way or the other. The other thing that gave, a little confirmation that this might be moving down is we have a cross of our lines. Right? So this whole time I'm watching that happen. Oh, and here it goes. Sheesh Louise. So let's watch this play out. If this this comes all the way down here, I will be a little annoyed. Especially because so far we haven't got any kind of a pullback, really. I mean, even when we sat through this, there wasn't really much of a pullback. It was just bouncing around our entry. All right, back to oil. So oil, we had the push through the range. We had consolidation. And then we had a push up to the overnight open. Consolidating a little bit. Now we're pulling back slightly. We'll see if we get a nice gold line entry off here. We might go long in oil. Gold seems to have maybe hit a bottom. Let's see, 5-minute chart. We still don't have a higher high on the 5-minute chart, but we have a higher low. So this is a higher low. So the wedgie has begun. So oddly enough, today's a day I would be pretty happy to end the day positive $150, $160. After commissions, probably more like $140. I would take that after a day like today. See what we get here. All right, this could potentially be a higher high in gold. So we did break our little wedge for whatever that's worth. Probably not much. Coming back for a retest. Oil's still at the overnight open. Should point out that oil, while I was distracted by NQ, oil did have a 5-minute inside bar, closed at 9:15, and did break high and would have hit the target. So you would have had one failure and one winner off the inside bar strategy if that was what you like to do. The winner was 26. The loser was only, I think, 20. So you'd be net positive. It's only 19. So you'd be net positive. So yet again, the inside bar strategy is a winner today. I don't enter off the inside bar, but I do look at it for confirmation sometimes. The reason I can't enter off a 5-minute inside bar is that oftentimes it doesn't, I guess, coincide with the other things that I'm looking at. So I have a really hard time being mechanical like that. I'm a little more hands-on, trading price action versus trading super mechanically. Can't say that it's a good thing, but that's how I do it. Guess I should rephrase that. It's neither good nor bad. It's just what are the results? Well, if I was mechanically trading the inside bar strategy, my results might be better. But I feel like long term there's better upside to understanding price action and being able to trade price action, because that really gets to the heart of the markets. All right, there's a higher high on the 5-minute chart in gold. I think the big problem we have in gold is that basically the bottom half of the open range is a giant 5-minute fair value gap, which is here. I'll pop it up there for you. So that's a 5-minute fair value gap that was created from that last push, from this big push down. So any long entry would have to contend with that. Could cause some friction if it breaks. We pushed up into it and rejected pretty nicely the last time we were there. So even though it looks like we're stair-stepping back up, there's too much structure in the way for me to go long here. Let's see how we react when we get back up to the bottom of the range. NQ slowed its roll, so it didn't got hung up at this line, but it did hit that line. Fell through it a little bit. Man, I was sitting weird. Now my foot is all tingly and got that weird falling asleep feeling. Clips from that Seinfeld episode popped up on my phone the other day. On YouTube. It's the one where he's at that guy's guy owns a hardware store, and guy has like a prosthetic leg or something and walks with like a limp, and Jerry was sitting there, we were talking to him, and when they got up to walk out, his leg was asleep, and so he was walking with a similar limp and offending everybody because they thought he was making fun of the poor guy with one leg, and it was very humorous. Anyway, that's what I think of whenever my foot falls asleep. It's like, no, it's not what you think. Come back. Anyway, it's the same episode where Jerry accidentally burns the guy's place down, and then the fire truck doesn't get there in time because Kramer's somehow infiltrated the fire department and is on the driving the back of the fire truck and doesn't know how to do it and is trying to tell them to take a different route because the route that they're going to take is too busy. And I don't know. I find Seinfeld very entertaining. All right, NQ, what are you doing? Don't really have any nice inversion opportunities down here, I don't think. My bias is still short, so I'm looking for inversions in NQ. I'm probably looking for more of a pullback that creates an inversion and then violate it back on the way down. We are coming back to the overnight open. We've not taken out the Asia lows yet. Well, actually, no, I lied. We did. I didn't even see that. See, that would have been a better target probably is the Asia lows. Wasn't too far different from where I had mine, but that is noteworthy. Looks like gold is failing this fair value gap again. At least had a little bit of reaction off of it. And oil's not going anywhere. So I don't know. Might be time for a break. I think it's going to be a little while before anything sets up. Don't just want to short this in gold because, well, it doesn't fit my criteria. One thing I have learned is it's easier to sit through a trade if you have conviction in the trade. Right up here, I had reason to have conviction that it was going to go down. And I was prepared to lose if it didn't. Like, actually prepared to lose. Up here, I didn't have a ton of conviction that was going to go up other than this fair value gap, so didn't sit through that, and good thing. And right here, the 15-minute hadn't quite formed its, well, let's see. Well, I guess, yeah. So the 15-minute gave a reversal signal after this bar closed. So I should have had more conviction to sit through this, but it was pulling back pretty hard, so whatever. But once I re-entered down here, you know, all signs pointed south. Now we're back up into uncertainty territory. Definitely still leaning short, although not quite as clear. If we were to invert this 5-minute fair value gap in gold and then get a retest of the midline long, that would be a good entry in my book. Honestly, if we were to pull inside and get a retest off the bottom long, that might also convince me, because we had these guys here. So we had kind of this propulsion block here, and then we have an order block here. So if we were to violate this order block, which coincides with the midline of the open range, with the retest after we're getting these higher lows, I mean, this looks to me like we're done down here. Okay, we hit a low, we pulled back, we hit a lower low, and failed to fall back down before we started moving back up again. And once we took out these highs, I mean, I guess we're kind of in that area now, so we'll see. I mean, if we pull down pretty sharply here, then I would be wrong in that assessment, but I mean, technically this is an order block too. Right, so technically we're testing this order block, but I don't think I'd get in until we were above here. So that's my theory at this point in time. So we'll see how it plays out. In NQ, other than my bias is short, I don't really have a game plan right now. And oil is doing nothing, so who knows? Let's see, generally speaking, my bias in oil is, I have a long bias in oil. Actually, maybe I take that back. So the interesting thing here is that, let's look at this. Let's make this big. So we had these gaps at the open today, right? NQ gap down, or gapped up, sorry. Oil gap down, so here's a little gap in oil. But we filled the gap early this morning. And then we created a 15-minute fair value gap at that point here. Let's see, let's pop that up. Okay, that's a 15-minute fair value gap. And then we retested that when we came back up here. So I think this is the area of question, right? Do we close above this on a 15-minute basis, or are we going to fall back down? The fact that we wicked back into it and pulled back below it leads me to think there's a potential we come down, but need to see some kind of impulsive move to validate that. So we'll see how that works out. In fact, I might leave that gap on that chart just for reference. in gold, see what gold did. See, we had a similar gap down in gold, but we haven't come back to that point. We've held below it the entire, we didn't even come back to the overnight open, right? We've been down way down here the whole time. So gold has had no interest of retracing up into that gap. And we're probably going to find out here if NQ wants to go back and fill it. Which we don't have very far to go. We'll just put that there for fun. Let's change the color so we know it's different from just a 15-minute high or low. Although technically that is a 15-minute level. I don't know. Let's make it green. Oh, we touched it there. Look at that. I didn't even notice that. So that's the gap fill. So we got the gap fill. All right. So smarter people than me were probably had their target right there, and it hit like to the tick. Could have been 60 points more than I got. The gap fill. All right. Well, there you go. Add that to the list of things we should have known beforehand that we didn't see. All right. Got some momentum coming down again. I'm getting into this simply because we closed below this fair value gap, right? I'm probably not going to sit in this one quite as long as I did before. Let's see if we can get a little bit out of it. If we can retest that gap right there. Which we should. We've got reason to expect it to go lower than that, so. Really, to the tick. There we go. And of course it rockets through. Okay, so that was a pretty simple trade, right? Inversion that was created off of this fair value gap, which was where we pushed up to the overnight open, the initial fair value gap. Inverted that on the way down, and now we'll drop. And let's see where we go. All right, well, I am not going to take another trade. At least not in here. So probably call it there. We'll come back later and see if we do drop all the way down to here. Otherwise, I'd say the trading today was mixed. It was all right. Wasn't too bad. Missed. Really, gold and oil didn't set up any really nice opportunities. If I was gutsier, I would have taken this one, because this gold entry was, it did follow my rules. The stop was just more than I was willing to risk, which caused me to give up, $1,000. But whatever. Oil really didn't set up anything for us. Now we're failing back down, so see where it goes. And tomorrow we got news, Wednesday news, Thursday news, Friday news. So the rest of the week should be pretty good. So we're finishing the day up, I don't know, in the $400 or so range. So can't complain about that. Hopefully everybody has a great day, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye.